Hello and welcome. This is Notibot ENG. Tonight, we're bringing you a special edition of our news recap, focusing on the escalating tensions between the US and Iran. Former President Donald Trump has sparked controversy with his recent comments about King Charles III, claiming he agrees with him on Iran's actions. We'll also be covering the calls for a humanitarian corridor through the Strait of Hormuz, as aid efforts are severely hampered by the ongoing conflict. Let's get straight to it, as we delve into these pressing stories and their implications for global politics. As tensions over Iran continue to simmer in Washington, a surprise visit from King Charles brings diplomatic attention back to the UK-USA relationship. U.S. President Donald Trump has stated that King Charles agrees with him on allowing Iran never to have nuclear weapons, sparking potential embarrassment for royal aides. At a white tie event in Washington, Trump said the UK monarch's stance is even stronger than his own, stating, "Charles agrees with me even more than I do. We're never going to let that opponent have a nuclear weapon." Trump's comments are likely to be at odds with the UK government's long-standing position on preventing nuclear proliferation. The former defense lawyer for Trump, Todd Blanche, has noted that the monarch is naturally mindful of this position. This comes as tensions over Iran's nuclear capabilities continue to strain the so-called special relationship between the US and the UK. King Charles's four-day state visit to New York is an attempt to showcase cultural and economic ties between the two nations at a time when diplomatic relations are under pressure. The Iranian government has repeatedly denied seeking nuclear weapons, but the country's ballistic missile program remains a source of concern for Western powers. The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, has warned that Iran is moving in the wrong direction if it wants to avoid being subject to further sanctions. Trump's comments on King Charles and his views on Iran have raised questions about the extent of US-UK cooperation on Middle East issues. As tensions escalate in the region, a pressing humanitarian crisis unfolds in the Persian Gulf, highlighting a critical need for urgent international intervention. The global oil crisis is having devastating effects on millions of people in desperate need, according to aid organizations. The volatility caused by the US and Israel's war on Iran has led to soaring oil prices, preventing food, fuel, and medicine from reaching those who require it most. NGOs, such as the International Rescue Committee, IRC, are calling for a humanitarian corridor to be opened through the Strait of Hormuz, amid rocketing transportation costs. Bob Kitchen, Vice President for Emergencies at the IRC, emphasized the need for serious and immediate conversations about humanitarian corridors. Shipping disruptions have prevented the IRC from accessing vital supplies stuck in Dubai that are needed by 20,000 people in Sudan. In Nigeria and Ethiopia, government oil rations have forced the emergency relief body to limit generator use in its health clinics. In certain parts of hospitals, we'll have to close off the electricity to keep more important things running, said Kitchen. Aid agencies are burning through budgets rapidly due to the increased costs of fuel and operations. Cecile Terrace, director at the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, confirmed that the oil price increase is affecting their operations directly. The reality here is that it's 100% sure that the increase of oil price is affecting the lives of people and also our operations, she said. The situation matters greatly, as millions of people rely on humanitarian aid to survive. The blockade of the Strait of Hormuz has resulted in unprecedented shipping disruptions, exacerbating an already dire crisis. As tensions escalate between global powers, a growing confrontation in the Middle East is taking a deadly toll, with diplomatic efforts on life support. The standoff between the United States and Iran continues to escalate as tensions between the two nations remain high. In recent days, Iranian officials have issued fresh warnings to the US, threatening retaliation for the country's military blockade of its ports. According to Ala Edinburgh-Jurdi, deputy head of the National Security Committee in the Iranian parliament, Iran has arrested over 4,000 people and executed at least 21 since the start of the Middle East war. The UN has criticized Iran's treatment of its people, describing it as harsh and brutal. Bourjurdi claimed that Iran's forces could easily respond to any U.S. action by seizing one of the ships present in the region and bringing it to Iranian shores. Iran has seized 2 commercial ships accused of violating its restrictions on the Strait of Hormuz. The country's Houthi rebel allies in Yemen have also been warned to block the Bab el-Mandeb shipping lane, another crucial choke point for energy supplies in the region. Boroujerdi dismissed U.S. threats as endless and empty, saying they would only result in further damage to America's reputation. The situation matters because it highlights the growing tensions between two major world powers. The conflict has already resulted in significant economic losses, particularly for the United States, which relies heavily on oil imports from the Middle East. A wider war could have catastrophic consequences, not just for the region but also for global markets and trade. As the standoff continues, the international community is watching with bated breath to see how this situation unfolds. The fate of global security hangs in the balance as the world waits to see what Iran's next move will be. Donald Trump has issued a warning to Iran's leaders, telling them they need to get smart soon if they're to avoid further international isolation. The United States and Iran are locked in a high-stakes standoff over Tehran's nuclear program. In a recent post on his social media platform Truth Social, U.S. President Donald Trump warned Iran that it needs to get smart soon if it wants to avoid economic catastrophe. Trump's comments come as the U.S. signals its intention to maintain a naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, which is a critical choke point for oil exports. The move is aimed at pressuring Iran into returning to the negotiating table and abandoning its nuclear ambitions. The crisis has been escalating since the U.S. withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, JCPOA, in 2018, which had limited Iran's nuclear program in exchange for relief from economic sanctions. Since then, tensions between Washington and Tehran have escalated, with both sides engaging in a series of tit-for-tat measures. The Strait of Hormuz blockade has already started to take its toll on Iran's economy, with oil exports declining by over 50% since the U.S. reimposed sanctions in 2018. The move is also seen as a major blow to China and India, which are increasingly dependent on Iranian oil imports. Iranian officials have rejected Trump's warning, calling it aggressive and a new form of intimidation. The crisis has raised concerns among world leaders that a miscalculation could lead to war in the Middle East. As the standoff continues, one thing is clear: the fate of Iran's nuclear program hangs precariously in the balance. As tensions between Iran and the U.S. continue to escalate, a new warning from President Trump is casting a shadow on fragile diplomatic efforts. The situation in the Strait of Hormuz remains tense as talks between Iran and the U.S. have stalled once again. According to reports, Iran's latest offer was met with resistance from Washington, with President Donald Trump taking to his Truth Social platform to express his frustration. Trump claimed that Iran has informed him it is in a state of collapse and warned the regime that they need to get smart soon. This comes as U.S. officials reveal that the president believes keeping the conflict in its current state will hurt Iran's finances and weaken their leverage in negotiations. Insiders suggest that this could be costing Tehran around $435 million per day. Iran had offered a peace proposal, which aimed to decouple nuclear talks from the effort to reopen the Strait of Hormuz and end the war. However, Trump is unwilling to back down on his demands that Iran suspend its nuclear enrichment. The situation in the Middle East continues to spiral out of control, with the energy crisis caused by the Iran war exposing discord among Gulf nations. The United Arab Emirates has recently announced its decision to quit OPEC, dealing a blow to the oil producers group and further weakening their control over global oil supplies. This development comes as tensions between the UAE and Saudi Arabia continue to escalate. The two countries are among the largest producers of oil in the region, and their rift could have far-reaching consequences for the global energy market. With talks between Iran and the U.S. on hold, it remains to be seen how this situation will unfold and what impact it will have on the wider world. And that's all for tonight's recap. We'll continue to monitor the situation with Iran and the U.S. Thank you for watching. If you want to stay up to date on the latest developments, please consider subscribing to our channel. We'll bring you breaking news and analysis as it happens. Until next time, good night.